I've traveled all throughout the land of Hyrule, and despite its beauty and luster, it's full of darkness and monsters. Bokoblins, moblins, even the feared Lynels and Gleeoks roam free and unchallenged by the Hylians that populate the land. However, in my journeys it wasn't the gloom, the monsters, or even the daunting task of collecting every Babool gem that haunted me. No. It was something that took place in the unassuming town of Hateno Village that involved the worst monsters of all. Hello, my name is Hoda Zeta, and today we take you to one of the most twisted tales of Tears of the Kingdom, which is the election between Mayor Reed and the incomparable Cece. Spoilers ahead. It starts unassuming enough, like any other playthrough. I've been traveling around the kingdom with his new arm, heading from one shrine to the next, where eventually I happen upon the relatively peaceful and untouched Hateno village. While perhaps one of the largest settlements in Hyrule, it's only that way due to the calamity, and only survived unscathed due to the bravery of the troops in the Battle of Fort Hateno a century prior. It's primarily known for being an agricultural community, known for its plethora of vegetables. This can be seen with the amount of farmers and farmhands visible in the village, and is a place that looks like a good place to settle down. In fact, I did so last game. But as we enter, we see that there are many people dressing up with mushroom hats and other mushroom-based memorabilia. This is no random trend. This is the work of the glamorous Cece, daughter of Selden, sister to Sophie, and the new owner of Ventest Clothing. She has traveled far and wide to learn the art of fashion, but has come back to share what she knows. I don't really get it, but a lot of people seem to be into this whole new fashion trend. We've seen travelers all over Hyrule wearing the outfit, the town has a lot of mushroom decorations, and don't get me started on the innkeeper's wife and her almost zealousness to put a cap on her husband's head. The same husband, I might add, who spends all his time on the balcony avoiding her. It's clear that this movement has caused quite a stir, riling up neighbor and neighbor, dividing even entire families. We've got to find out more, so I decide to head to Cece herself for answers. Luckily, there's a crowd out front. Tons of admirers of Cece have traveled far to see her, but she only sees one visitor at a time. Being a famous hero, we're let in because the three others can't agree who can get the last entry ticket, and we meet Cece. But as we're getting acquainted, then he enters. Mayor Reed barges into the shop, not caring to listen to Sophie at the door, demanding that Cece take down her weird art pieces, claiming that her focus on fashion will cause produce to fail, which is kind of ridiculous. To his credit, Clavia, the mayor's wife, attempts to calm the situation, but Reed isn't having it. Cece cuts in and mentions that perhaps it is her art that is rejuvenating the village, and Reed snaps back, claiming it doesn't need rejuvenation. This fight escalates until Cece suggests going to the people and holding an election. Reed agrees, and he storms out.
The body is not capable of action. I suggest new leadership is needed. I move for a vote of no confidence in Chancellor Valorum's leadership.
It's a tense situation, with two sides vying for leadership. In Reed, we have the old guard, mired in tradition and vegetables, versus Cece, bringing new ideas and mushrooms to the village of Hateno. As I have a house here, I feel it is my duty to get involved. After all, local politics are important. A leading voice in the field has said, your mayor and city council members may have more impact on your daily life than you think. If you have problems with streets in your areas, or garbage or bulky items that aren't being picked up, or stoplights that need to be installed, your senator or congress member probably isn't going to be able to help you, but your city council representative can. Considering how Zelda is missing in action anyway, the mayor of Hateno is both local government and the highest government position in Hyrule, in a way, which makes this doubly important, so there's no way I could ignore this. So I talk to Cece, and she starts with asking me where I stand. Why I tell her I'm undecided, she then enlists my insistence to give Hylian shrooms to Reed supporters. Alright, old-timey pamphlets, I'm in. But she's aggressive in her statements. Mental makeover? They'll be easier to identify Reed supporters by how unstylish they are? How can she be the one to lead the town if she's actually belittling her future constituents? To tell you the truth, dear viewer, I was immediately disillusioned, and I left Hateno to continue with shield surfing and finding giant potatoes with glowing lights to cure myself of evil depression. But the thought of the village returned every time I picked up a mushroom. Eventually it hit me. Cece wasn't wrong. The village is stagnating, and even regressing under the current regime. Also, vegetables are gross. Ask any kid. I may not agree with her terminology, but that's just a matter of her speech. She's grandiose, dramatic, and glamorous. Mental makeover is just a pun for seeing the light. Unstylish is just a fact, not anything meant to be harmful or demeaning. At the end of the day, it's her against Mayor Reed, and the truth is I'd rather see her in power than a vegetable baron. So I return, much more full of heart, and I begin to pass the mushrooms to the unenlightened of Hateno. They aren't all convinced, but they are grateful for the gesture. I do notice that Reed isn't found to be campaigning on the streets. Rather, it appears that he's in his mayoral estate, brooding and letting his frustration boil over. As I continue my mission, I notice Sophie looks upset. She confides in me. And as I'm helping Cece out, that Cece holds a dark secret. Every night she sneaks out somewhere, not telling even Sophie where she's going. Is she being blackmailed? Is there some sort of scandal that if it got out would ruin the campaign? The only natural response was to spy on her, and to see what she's up to, for her safety. Sneaking and spying on Cece? Was it okay for me to invade someone's privacy to safeguard her election? Yes. Yes, it was. She's the future, and we need to be prepared. Sophie is right. We need to protect her even from herself. As it happens, what luck, we also get to speak with Clavia, the mayor's wife. She's worried that her husband, claiming he's just as stubborn as Cece is, and just wishes that their quarrel would end. But as she's let slip of something that needs to be taken care of before the election, I had to inquire further. Under the guise of lending an ear to her troubles, I find out that Reed shuts himself in the mayoral shed every night. And whenever she asks what he's doing out there, it's a secret. She's got half a mind to find out what he's been up to, and enlists us to sneak out during the day to find out. Now, if a husband has a room that even his wife isn't allowed into, that's a red flag. And I have no qualms anymore about spying on someone or their property anymore, as long as it's for the security of the people of Hateno. And if that secret would hurt Reed's chances to be reelected, well, it would be a very nice thing to know, wouldn't it? So I agree. With both of our candidates having secrets that could potentially swing the election, I elect to change into my stealth mode gear. Well, I don't have a full set, but it's what I got. But it works. At night, I casually see Cece strolling into the silo across the street, and I'm able to find out what she's doing as I ascend into the... Wait, no, isn't that what I'm supposed to do? How else are we supposed to find out what's going on? I ascend to a platform, which gives me a vantage point to spy on Cece undetected, and what I see shocks me to my very core. Cece is eating carrots. I realize she didn't come back to save the town. She came back because of the carrots. Reed's carrots. She can't get enough of them. People might get the wrong idea, maybe that she endorses Reed if she eats them in public. As she leaves, I'm left beside myself. What will that mean for the election? How can she stand for progress if she's stuck with a carrot agenda? The French artist Paul Cézanne, which is definitely not how you say that name, once said, "The day is coming when a single carrot, freshly observed, will set off a revolution." How much more would a box of carrots do to this poor town? Broken, I returned to Sophie, and she seems unconcerned. "That's it?" she says. How could she say that, not understanding the platform she's running on? But she points out that her sister has to be as ostentatious as possible. Makes sense to me. That's why she uses the terms unstylish and mental makeover. But then she says it. She loves the slow life in Hateno Village, and it clicks. She loves Hateno Village, even if her pride won't allow her to admit it. Under her rule, this town would be more fashionable, but still respect her roots. I breathe easy. My faith restored in the future mayor of Hateno. Invigorated, I resume handing out mushrooms to the folks of Hateno, and I come across Dance's farm. They've been going under hard times, a clear representation of the failures of Mayor Reed's rule, and he can't even make feed for his cows anymore. I assist the local businessman as I support the local community, and he's grateful and gets me a bottle of milk in a world without refrigeration or preservatives. So, thank you. He's doing his best. A town more properly run might see some advancements in refrigeration technology. I then see his daughter, Koyen, looking concerned as she gazes upon the local pond. I approach with Cece's gift. Surely a token of progress would cheer anyone up. She's mostly grateful, but as it happens, she too knows their farm is on hard times, despite her father's insistence otherwise, and wants to do something about it. Her great-grandfather left her a letter in a bottle with a secret that might save their pasture, but it somehow got in the middle of a lake. I don't know why it's there. I reread the dialogue several times. Point is, the salvation of their farm rests in the middle of a lake. And as the slayer of Calamity Ganon, I bravely swim onto the lake and grab the large... Why can't I pick up the bottle? It's in the water. It can't be that heavy. I build a raft and return with the bottle. It's true. Her great-grandfather and Reed's grandfather had worked on a project in secret, utilizing the cream from cows to... Well, it doesn't really go into detail. By doing something, she's able to turn milk into cheese. Probably using some sort of kiln?
So when do they use the kilns?
I just told you, they don't use kilns. There are no kilns.
Koyen doesn't waste any time either. After getting the recipe, she immediately makes something completely unheard of in The Legend of Zelda, a golden treasure that will be sought after for years to come. After being offered her first sample, she sets up in the Hateno cheese shop, and even has a recipe for a mysterious food called Pizza.
Ninja pizza!
Ninja pizza?
Pizza that vanished quickly without trace.
That I'll be trying out later. The sun, however, has reached midday, and it's time to infiltrate Reed's shed of lies. As the mayor's wife isn't permitted a key, I have to get creative. Underneath Hateno, in its well system, is a bunch of interconnected caves and monsters. Don't get me started on how this is another reflection of Reed's poor leadership. I use this system to navigate underneath the shed and ascend from beneath to uncover the truth. There's not much in this shed but a diary, filled with the machinations of a tyrant desperate to stay in power. He realizes that vegetables are losing its luster, especially with the younger folk. With the end of the calamity, the younger generation must have been musing as to what more they could aspire to than vegetables, current crisis notwithstanding. So in his hubris, he conscripted Nick, the best farmer in the village, to create a new vegetable, or rather alter one. He plans to make a pumpkin that looks like the CC brand, to trick the younger kids into liking pumpkins and other vegetables too. I am disgusted. Reed is planning on working on an unholy project to change a pumpkin, which, outside of a pie, tastes worse than even a carrot. And he's planning on stealing the design of the successful Cece to attempt to force his ideas on the youth. Not only does that show how out of touch he is, but it is another piece of evidence that Reed will steal from anyone in his village to stay in power, just like all tyrants would. Luckily, they've hit a snag, and we shouldn't see those pumpkins before the election, and I thank the goddesses that this man will finally see the end of his reign before too long. I rush to find Clavia and tell her of the news, but instead I find the mayor himself. I play dumb, letting him reveal that he's not worried about the election because he has a secret weapon. I hide a smile, knowing his best laid plans are a dud. But he also mentions a second plan of stealing the work his grandfather used on some kind of gooey Oh no. He smells it on me. I have no choice but to reveal the cheese Koyan graciously gifted me, and he celebrates. It's just what he needs to win the election, and he immediately makes a point to set up cheese in the local store, no doubt appropriating it from poor Koyan and her struggling farm, just so he can get his cut from the general store in town, so he can continue profiting off of the backs, nay, the hopes and fears of others in the town. He even pays me 100 rupees rather than Koyan for the cheese, what I can only presume to be for my silence. And you know the worst part is, I think his plan will work. Cheese is delicious. Defeated, I return to Sophie to discuss our next steps, but now it's time for the election. Despite my best efforts, it was anyone's guess whether we'd see Hateno continue into decline, or for Cece to take control and force us into a better, brighter future. I do what I can. I finish handing out mushrooms to villagers, which takes me longer than I would care to admit. Return to Cece, who rewards me with a big, hearty truffle. Something rarer and much more useful than 100 rupees. It goes to show how in touch Cece really is, and while I am not proud of the things I've done, I know that I put my trust in the right person. She encourages us to talk to Sophie for the next steps, which I do, and it turns out everything's ready, and the election begins. The candidates are encouraged to give a speech before it starts, with Reed playing nervous to play the crowd's humble sensibilities, and then he wants to double down in tradition by pushing the new cheese product, which he didn't even invent, and belongs rightfully to Koyan and her farm, whom I'm assuming is too shy to speak up. Was there hush money involved? Silent threats, perhaps? I wasn't able to see her in the crowd. Cece had her turn and speaks truly that fashion brings in the cash, not food, and her speech is rewarded with thunderous applause. This infuriates Reed, and his facade fails. Curling his fists, and he attacks Cece's ideals. She doesn't take it lying down, clenches her own fists, and corrects him that her ideas shape the world, not the other way around. It seems that this conflict was inevitable, and I brace myself for the brawl to come. But I know, in my heart, who would come out on top. Instead, what I get is Sophie, who accuses them both of being short-sighted. In her rage, she lets slip Cece's secret, to the shock of the whole crowd, and to my shock as well. I can't believe that she'd betrayed her secret after what I had done for her. What I had done for the election. What I had done for Hateno. No, what I had done for all Hyrule. Hope began to fall until Clavia spoke up, standing up to her husband and revealing that his evil, studious designs for pumpkins. Confronted with the truth, Reed has no choice but to confess, and Cece does her best to admit her pride may have gotten in the way of relating to a better Hateno. She turns and remarks that her trends and styles are built on the foundation of traditional culture and asks for forgiveness. At first I don't understand, but then I realize she's taken the secret Sophie threw out and is turning the crowd to her favor. Reed quickly apologizes afterward, futilely and pathetically. I smile to myself. The election is all but assured. And then Cece withdraws her candidacy. My mouth drops. The crowd gasps. I can't believe my ears. Even the devil Reed can't either. In a moment of clarity, he even admits she's the reason the town's doing so well in the first place, and she's owed this position. But instead, she deflects with hinting that she'd like to help his hybrid mushroom pumpkin project, and then Reed informs the people that they've agreed to a decision to continue tradition but have new ideas. Or in other words, a Hateno that keeps Reed in power and gives Cece the hand in the profits of these new pumpkins. A choice, mind you, that wasn't voted upon by the people, but manipulated by Reed to secure his power and keep Cece in check. And the crowd applauds, none the wiser.
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
As the crowd disperses, my faith is shattered. Cece sold out on her dream for profit, and a tyrant stays in power. Why did I do what I did? Why did I lower myself to commit crimes for a cause that ultimately failed in the end? Dejected, I had little to say as Cece thanked me for my help. And while I was awarded with a Cece hat, my heart just wasn't in it. Sure, it was glorious and fabulous, and the hair covers my eyes, and I'm no Jedi. I swap to my hood, and that's when it all becomes worth it. Cece tells me that I can put my head down. It's so beautiful. I can't believe it. I have spied on the citizens of Hyrule. I broke into private property, and I sold out Koyan's business to big government.
But the most damning thing of all, I think I can live with it. And if I had to do it all over again, I would.
Cece is right about one thing. A guilty conscience is a small price to pay for a pulled-down hood. So, I will learn to live with it. Because I can live with it. I can live with it. Tex, erase this entire video.